already having an issue here. We're back. Lazy Booking is back. We got a special guest right over here. We're ready to talk to him. Let's get it started.
Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Who's that kid? Nick. He looks like Beaker from Muppets.
The one on FS1, Nick Wright.
Yep. Yeah. I got something.
That's
for
amazing. I did not even. I love that.
If I get 5 women and they're all in the same room with me, we're going at it at 110%.
What's going on, everybody? Lazy Booking back here live on A2D Radio. Happy to be back. It's been a couple of years, and we have an incredible guest to get us back in the seat. But first and foremost, let's show it a little love to our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy, and his award-winning team. Anything that you need, any kind of sports injuries, home injuries, anything, please make sure you guys hit them up. They have physical locations in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. Lazy Booking's back here on A2D Radio. Guys, I know a lot of you have reached out to me and said you were very excited to have our guest right now to my right from what you're looking at. We have the one and only Ethan Carter III, EC3, former world champion in TNA and NWA. What's up, brother?
What an honor to be the very first guest back on your from your sabbatical. So welcome back to the podcast realm. I don't know if you've been paying attention to podcasts the past 2 years, but they've really blown up. And I mean, they may have decided the presidency of the United States. I mean, just about everybody's got one, but you were one of the forefathers of it. Lazy Booking. Let me ask you, where'd you get the name from?
You know what? It's an interesting. So I started the podcast before I joined A2D in 2017. I started it in 2016. I met this guy at WrestleMania 31. No joke, just standing outside at our hotel. And he was from Canada. His name was Billy Thrasher. Shout out to Billy. And we were just kind of standing there and said, dude, we stayed in touch and said, let's do a wrestling podcast. And I don't know if we were just kind of like we were saying, well, maybe we do something booking because everybody has the 3 count or something like that. And I remember just sitting there and I was just like, how many times did we sit there and we're like, that was kind of lazy booking. It sounds like a great podcast name. And then didn't hear anybody with it. So that's what we rolled with.
It's a good name. I think Cornette uses it often, doesn't he? Lazy Booking.
Oh yeah, he does say that. Yeah, he does say that.
And you know what? He's usually right. So when it's lazy booking, when it's wrestling related, he's more often than not correct. But thank you for having me. I mean, I'm an open book. Whatever you want to chat about. If you got any questions, apparently we might have some mutual acquaintances, and we've never met. So he was asking me about them before we started, but I think the fans deserve to see my natural reactions to these mutual acquaintances because they could either be really good or they could be like, oh, shit.
Oh, well, one's super close to you, but so do you know Jim from Marvel?
Yeah.
Jim Velasco?
Yeah.
Actually,
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. We're really good friends. Before we moved out to California and obviously started working for them, he's from my area in South Jersey.
I still don't know why I don't have a standalone feature in the Marvel Universe. I mean, they're putting pretty much dog shit on the screen.
I know. This new iteration of movies is it's not standing up. They need some new faces.
Yeah. I had I was more of a DC guy, but I got into the Marvel movies. I wasn't a book fan. Not that I wasn't a fan. I just didn't read the comic books. But I remember going to watching it unfold and the storytelling and the interlaying, and I'm like, this is fucking how pro wrestling should be. And then Endgame and Infinity War, they pay shit off. You have emotional investments in the characters. I'm like, this is what wrestling should be. But when I saw Endgame, I'm like, I'm out because they told this great story and I don't want, they can't redo it. It can't ever be done again like they just did it. Too much is on the line. Too many people have their hands in the cookie jar now. Or it might be good, but I don't need good. So I like great. And like, I had a good conclusion. I was happy for it. Short of Captain Marvel, I thought the end game was good. A lot of Peggy Sue she is. But so it's good to hear from him. And if he's got to know somebody that published. I'm trying to write a book. So I need a publisher. So
yeah. We gotta get on him and see start tapping some contacts over there. And I am with you, by the way. I have not followed the movies as closely. I never missed a movie when that initial, MCU run was going, but it hasn't been the same.
And we're also like older now, where it's that was kind of like, all right, goodbye childhood nostalgia. Maybe I have to actually look at the fact that I'm 35 was I? I don't know, 34, whatever I was at the time. Like, okay, I can't be like in this. Plus, then Star Wars came out and that ruined my childhood. Last Jedi did, not the first one. But after Last Jedi, I'm out. Anything lazy booking, dare I say?
Absolutely. The other name I have for you, it's one I'm sure we're going to talk about quite a bit, and that is Rockstar Spud.
Oh, okay, good. All right. Two quality connections.
Yeah. Him and obviously Renee through him as well. But yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. I mean, you obviously know that. I mean, so much of your career was tied to him early on. And I mean, you guys were as entertaining as it gets in terms of the dynamic together.
Yeah, we're pretty much the best. We're very like-minded within the business. Like, we get it in a certain way. If any young aspiring wrestlers are out there, if you can't learn from me, try to learn from him. I think he's been doing a few seminars and stuff lately, but he's got just a cataclysmic mind of it's beyond wrestling. And that's what I love about him. And that's kind of why we clicked, because as much as we loved wrestling, we looked outside of it for what could influence us, as opposed to what's taking place inside of it that we're conforming to and doing the same as everybody else.
Yeah, like 100%. And I mean, I've I've seen his creative process actually go on. It's something special. And you're right. Yeah, I know he's, especially with a lot of the international talent and UK talent, he's been rolling out this thing he's been teasing, and he hasn't fully put it out, but I don't know if it's like some kind of webinars or actual opportunities to work with them. So little plug for Spud and any UK wrestlers out there looking for an opportunity. Go check out his Twitter.
Yeah, if you're an American wrestler, I would take it up. I'm going to try to bring him in to a seminar here at Exodus, but I'll tell you this, ADHD, if you channel it right, hell of a superpower.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I actually just saw you this week. I was at the NWA Crockett Cup.
Oh, you were there?
Yeah, man. Great performance, by the way. My girlfriend really enjoyed watching you, do your work, and both in-ring and entertainment-wise. She hasn't been to many wrestling shows, but you were definitely somebody that captivated her.
Out for the full 4 fucking hours.
It was long. I'm not gonna lie. It was a little bit long, but we enjoyed it though. I mean, I that's what you get with a tournament, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of good, like anything. I mean, if I'm not directly involved creating it, like I see things that could be done differently to probably expedite the enjoyment of the live audience, but I am a man on an island with my thoughts sometimes. But yeah, what was interesting about that, so because with what I'm doing with Exodus and trying to bring people up to like high levels, I had Pretty Boy Smooth and Pastor CeeLo, and we competed as a tag team, but like I have a 6'9" giant. I have this cunning mouthpiece that I found through my process and like giving them the opportunity to go out there, be in the ECW arena, EC3 arena, whatever, and
100%.
Have those moments. I just wish CeeLo, there was this, because time was such a issue. CeeLo had a bit of a promo originally scheduled that had to get cut for time, but the Philly crowd and him being able, like, because he's never spoken in front of the live crowd before. We've done some stuff with him on TV and backstage. Regrettably, like, I would have sacrificed all my match minutes for him to do this promo, because that Philly crowd would have loved him and Star would have been born. But like anything with a star, it's inevitable and that will happen, but I just wish it happened there on that day.
Yeah, and especially, like, obviously you guys were here for NWA 76. You came here for the Crockett Cup. It feels like, and I did do the Q&A with Billy ahead of time where the conversation came up about coming back to Philadelphia and, you know, resurrecting the demons of Shane Douglas back in the day, and having a presence in Philly. And it's awesome to see. I mean, we'll get into NWA in a couple of minutes, but it really is, if you haven't been to an NWA show, it's just such a great mix of entertainment, in-ring action, and like a throwback to like what the NWA always was. It's really cool. Yeah, but our opening topic, agree to disagree question here, as we discussed, we always like to have a conversation point to open with EC3. So pro wrestling is booming because of cross promotion. Agree or disagree? And obviously you guys experienced that this weekend, right? Natty Neidhart was a part of the Crockett Cup. I think we've started to see a lot of this. Obviously, you work with a lot of different promotions, and you know WWE's working with TNA. They purchased / are working with AAA, and then you obviously see when AEW works with a lot of the different companies. It just feels like something special is happening, and you're getting a lot of matches that, you know, are almost like dream matches, or matches you didn't think you would see unless somebody had to change a brand, right? So, you know, do you agree with, you know, this new boom in professional wrestling due to cross promotion?
The term boom intrigues me, and like, is it a boom within fan interest? Is it a boom within, you know, business ticket sales, things of that nature? I mean, definitely for the NWA to have Natty there and work with young Kenzie Page helped us with a big boom. Like, that was very significant to, you know, bring people in or bring some attention to the product. I don't know if it's necessarily booming across all cylinders. I think it booms within the bubble, within fan interest. And I definitely think it's something that should be used and exploited, and not exploited because that'd be overuse, but used and, you know, relegated to prominent positions. Because growing up, you know, we always say the Monday Night Wars, if somebody jumped, it was a big deal, or this guy's debuting, it was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Even if there was no cross promotion, I don't know if those big deals would be as significant as they were back then. So I think this alleviates that kind of necessity. Where, I mean, when I watch a sport, it's like you would watch baseball back in the day, and the American League would never play the National League, except if it's the World Series.
Yep.
I feel like this is interleague play. So it was a really big deal then for a National League and American League to play. Now it's cool to see, and it's beneficial. Boom is such like explosive to me. I don't know. I want to say it's beneficial. I wouldn't say necessarily a boom.
I love that answer. No, that really makes a lot of sense. And I would agree with you. What a great analogy, because, you know, we're around the same age, and I remember those days too, where American and National League team only played each other if they got to the World Series, and interleague was super cool when it started. Now they have it to the point where everybody plays every team at least once a year now. So it's not even like you play certain divisions. It's so watered down now. Right.
And everything tends to kind of, NWA's on X. I'm getting the text to promote whatever. Yeah, like, and I think that's what happened. Even talking about our little Marvel rant earlier, like, everything after it's been done tends to get watered down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think, and this is big in wrestling, but it's big in every sort of entertainment, is that once you break it open, it's hard to put it back in. But sometimes, and I think people are afraid to do this because they think they'll lose interest, is like to scale it back so you can have the moments kind of replicate themselves down the road. It's kind of my theory of, like, you take 3 steps forward. Sometimes you got to take a step back to take 2 more forward. And I don't think a lot of people see it like that, because it's always like, what's now, as opposed to what could be now or what could be next that's bigger. And again, I don't have a lot of business acumen or skin in the game, sort of what I'm doing with NWA Exodus with my little territorial promotion.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not afraid to take a step back to take 3 forward. But then again, I don't have the same stakes as a major company like a WWE or an NWA or a TNA or AEW or a Marvel Universe do. But I think if they did, redconning, you know, that terminology, not the supplement brand, but kind of like restarting something with prior information that already existed.
Mm-hmm.
Good for all sorts of facets of entertainment. And it's not like I need to see Batman's origin story for the 15th time as much as scale back the world a little bit because we got too far out there. I mean, at the end of Endgame, you had giant circles in the sky and every dead person comes back into this gigantic CGI fight. Like, you can only do that once, where you go back and watch original, like Civil War, Iron Man. Like, there's some grit to them, and there's, as comic booky as it was, some realism to how the action took place. And I like that a little more than I like the gigantic explosions of everything all the time.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, we're kind of jumping around. I'm totally cool with it, by the way. And I know you have that kind of a creative mind, right? Because you had that. I believe was it create your narrative?
Control your narrative.
Control your narrative. Oh, Control Your Narrative, which was a super cool project that you were doing for a while. And since we're kind of on the subject of talking about like the creative mind and the creative process, can you talk about your whole development of this, and obviously it's something that you carry with you even now today.
Yeah, I mean, Exodus is built on the back of that, except this time I don't have people within it kind of like making it about them as opposed to making about what the idea is. And the idea of Control Your Narrative, same thing with what I do with anything in wrestling or life. Like, I'm writing a book, it's like the ability to tell your story. And so the inception of Control Your Narrative was like basically tell your story. Where were we at the time? Pandemic, people were getting fired, world's burning, culture's diseased, and aghast at each other. Like, you can't go watch regular wrestling and turn it all off. I mean, you can and like suspend disbelief, but at the same time, there's a real thing taking place that maybe is worth taking advantage of. And with Control Your Narrative, it was mine, but the idea was to create a platform, because what I've seen within wrestling, especially televised wrestling, is these insanely charismatic, outlandish, wild personalities that were hampered by the watered downness of creative, or I don't want to call it tyranny, but it's like people in charge thinking they know everything, as opposed to the uniqueness and the individuality of the talent that brought them this far, using that and allowing people to see who they really are. Some authenticity, which I think is totally missing within wrestling. People are copies of copies of copies. People are playing characters of things. Who's truly an embodiment of themselves? And the best wrestlers of all time are the embodiments of who they are, turned up. We all know that. We just never get to see it anymore, short of a few cases, like an Orton or a Cena, or like a Roman. Like, those guys worked their way through some dumb shit to get to that point where they could be their authentic selves. And that's why they're over as hell. So Control Your Narrative, create a platform, and it was especially for a lot of like talent that would maybe not get looks elsewhere, maybe not check the boxes of the corporate wrestling machine, maybe just individuals who, like, if they're good wrestlers, cool. Are they great? I don't know. How do you define great in a contrived mess with so many intangibles that is wrestling? But they had great assets about their personality, or great stories that, like, we can build their character themselves around and tell. So that was the idea. Why it became a colossal cancellation is because people believed lies on the internet, and I for it. So whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with your mind and how it works, and really, if you deep dive into your career, and I think it's kind of really awesome, is that when you look, like, you went through the OVW process, FCW, NXT, and both iterations of NXT, basically. You had the TNA experience, Ring of, I mean, you have literally, outside of AEW, worked for every single major company and worked with some of the most unbelievable names. So kind of talking about that, right? And especially in your early years, what was that process like getting started for yourself and going through those developmental territories of OVW and FCW and whatnot before you finally landed into TNA?
I mean, why didn't it work out for me saying the FCW to NXT thing? It's pretty simple. I've always been, I would like to call myself, we're all different. I'm a fucking outlier, dude. I'm out there. You're talking about the brain, how it works. And I would say realizing that I was trying to portray something and not being authentic to myself and playing nice and getting along to get along, or doing what I think is right, being the quote good soldier, does not always work. And most of the time it doesn't, because the good soldiers are who they throw on the front line to get shot first. That's kind of what I learned. So, but that came through like being in the system, and I deal with this with talent kind of all the time, where it's like they come and do a show and like, I'll do anything, or what do you want me to do? I'm like, tell me what you want to do instead, because I'm creating a platform for you. If you're here for a reason. Who are you and what do you want to do? It's kind of, I totally destroyed the original like play nice creative process, and the people that convince me get the spots, and the people that are like, I don't know, I'm like, okay, well, when you do, fucking tell me, because I'm not, because I got 40 fucking people over here that are telling me what they want to do. So it's on you. But I guess it's kind of coming into Impact. The one thing that made the difference that allowed me to be more of myself was I knew I had room to fail. So when you're in the kind of WWE system, especially back then, every day you think you're getting fired probably when you're in developmental and not doing anything. So there's always walking on eggshells, and you're always afraid to do the wrong thing, as opposed to being unafraid to do the wrong thing to learn what is the right thing. And I think that's missing in wrestling. People are so afraid to fail that they can't fail, learn, and then excel. But with Impact, I knew I was coming into a little bit of a push, and I knew I had that confidence and a little bit of leeway where even if something didn't go completely right, it wasn't going to be pulled because they've invested in it. Like if I kept sucking, then I would have been fucked. But if I went out of the way and tried something and it didn't work, it would have been like, you're out of here. It would have been like, don't do that. And I'll be like, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fortunately for me, just kind of, I don't want to say like all just worked out, but there was a lot of things that worked in my favor, and I trusted my instincts as opposed to outside think. And that is what brought it up and up and up and up and up. That and the opportunity. So that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
If I was trusting my instincts and not getting an opportunity, I would have been stuck in the low card. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, obviously too, when you think about the talent that was in Impact at that time, I mean, everybody from, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe, Eli Drake, now LA Knight, and who is kind of similar to you in a sense of like found his niche in that company at around that time, and was kind of able to then remain that, whatever your name is going forward and not really stray too far off. Saying that though, when we talk about, the possible, or, the room to fail, which I think is really a tremendous thing to think about. Was there any concern? Because, right, so you come in and you're given the name of Ethan Carter III, right? And that is, were you worried that, obviously you were the nephew of Dixie Carter. Are you worried that this could pigeonhole you at some point where, well, you're already shaking your head, so I'm excited for that answer. But
you could, there's probably an audio component. So if you want to finish the thought, but I'll tell you why.
But yeah, just like, were you worried that you knew what you wanted to do, you knew who you were becoming, and you were determined to succeed. But it does seem like no matter what company, there are just sometimes gimmicks or a name is put onto somebody and it follows them in a negative way, as opposed to, again, we know the outcome. You were able to defy that and basically make the EC3 character your own, not Dixie's nephew, right? But initially, was there a concern that could be something that would pigeonhole you into that company?
For everybody that thought of it, there was actually like disputes between, I think, creative minds within the company that it would never work, or it would be a pigeonholed, or it could only go so far. But for me, when I got the call and kind of the idea of it, I'm like, fuck, done. I already know this because I know who I am and like how I can portray it. And the influences I have are very much like I'm Patrick Bateman mixed with Jay Gatsby, but I'm an asshole. Okay, like, you know, like I had that. I just so happened to be the niece or nephew, excuse me, of the owner. But I had no fear of the pigeonholing because I knew how to, I didn't know, but I had the idea of how it can continually grow and break free of it, because I was very fortunate in my time within WWE to hang out with some great minds. And I'm sitting in promo classes with Dusty, and when he's talking and people, you're listening to the wrestling stuff, but when he's dropping like the real like insights, they were kind of, you had to pick up on them. I mean, I had plenty of time hanging with like Cena, for example, as the ultimate case of somebody that could have been pigeonholed as one thing, got out of it, could have been pigeonholed as another, got out of it, became him, right? So picking that brain and seeing that insight, I was actually able to practice it. So I was not worried about the pigeonholing, but I'm not normal. Where, again, I try to think outside the box, and I think a lot of people think within it. So when they get maybe pitched something that seems like it has a shelf life, they fear it. Whereas I'm already thinking of what's next to, you know, the next level, how it can upgrade. And then from Ethan Carter the third to EC3, like a top guy working with Kurt Angle, there were instances where it continually leveled up, and there were slight changes in kind of demeanor, action, in-ring work. Like, I didn't come in there and do all the moves I can do against the tin cans when it was like the story of the matches. I'm being handed people that I can just beat the shit out of and win because I'm entitled. Whereas a normal wrestler might do that. Oh, I'm working this guy. I can do this move, this move, this move. Like, no, I wouldn't do any of the moves because I only needed one to get over. And then as the competition increases, you start kind of adding your stuff in there to level up, supersede, level up, supersede. And you mentioned Spud, where we did the hair versus hair match in London, and he sacrificed himself and his freaking head and pints of his own blood to get me to the next level I needed to be when I worked with Kurt. So, but that was like a moment too where we were having that match, and I knew, okay, this is where the guy that's kind of like, he's actually pretty good, but is he like top level guy? Does he have that killer instinct? Yes, because he murdered his best friend in front of his best friend's mother in his home. So, you know, that was kind of the catalyst where the next time you see me for a promo, I'm not the same guy. I'm a little different. I'm a little colder. I'm a little more calculated. And I'm not relying on like the cheap, easy things to get heat or a pop as much as I'm over enough where I can let the depth of the story kind of take over and slowly build upon that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing I tell like a lot of my young guys, gals, is who you want to be is not necessarily who you need to be to get to where you want to go. So without Derek Bateman, there's no EC3, and I hate Derek Bateman. Derek Bateman sucks. Yeah. But I knew, okay, I'm in a company with a lot of guys that are very similar to me, except actually they're taller and maybe even bigger. So what can I stand out doing? Well, I have a shitty amount of curls that I can grow out, and I'm kind of an idiot if I'm projecting my worst self upon, like, you know, this dumb humor.
Yeah.
Make me stand out. And even if it didn't work in WWE, it showed enough charisma and connection to an audience, especially based on the fact we had no promotion, that there's something to this kid. I don't know what it is, but there's something there. We can give him a shot. Well, what do we have for him? Oh, how about the nephew of the company's owner? Okay. So a lot of people come like they want to be the finished product right away, as opposed to something that can get them in the door. And at Crockett Cup, there's this young kid from Chicago telling me, had a dark match. He's got decent gear on and all these things. I'm just like, fucking boring, dude. But like, he was asking me for advice. And I'm just trying to like get to him a little bit. He's like, well, I once did this frat boy gimmick. And I'm like, frat boy? Okay, tell me about that. He's like, yeah. I'm like, that's cool. Like, he's like, yeah, but I don't want to be comedic. I'm like, you're not getting booked with me unless you can pop me. So we can get you there. Like, and maybe this is just my perception and not wrestling's in general, because wrestling tends to pigeonhole people. He's a comedy guy, funny, don't make money, all that bullshit I've heard. Yeah. Whereas, no, I see what you can do. I need you to get noticed and a reaction from the audience where they get to know you. And then as time progresses, we rip away kind of those layers of like over the top goofy haha into something a little more tangible and a little more serious. And then you're on your way. Because as of now, as a 22-year-old kid, you're not walking in there working top guys. You're not walking in being in the main event, but you can open the show and you can get over, and then you can be in the second half of the show. And then this can happen, and then that makes you change into this. And then now you're building that, and then this changes, and now you're building that. And like the patience in the long term, I think misses in wrestling. And yeah, I guess that rant's over, but characters, like who you want to be is not always who you need to be to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And you kind of defied that, right? You started with Derek Bateman and look where you ended up being. And obviously that's a far-fetched from where everything started at.
Yeah, I mean, when I was an indie guy before I was signed, dude, I thought I was Angle, Benoit, Batista in one. So I'm like power bombing German people, suicide diving, fucking, black trunks, black boots, kind of like a fratty, but like an over the top version of them. Whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm not as big as a Batista, I'm not as good as a wrestler as a Benoit or an Angle, but I do know how to party, and I'm 22 years old, and I like to. So combine all
that. You talk about Kurt Angle. That's where you win your first world title. Can you talk about what that experience was like, winning your first Impact World title with Kurt
read
Angle?
my book.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
I have something in the fucking air. It's killing me. So black voice. But yeah, like, I mean, I tell this story often in various versions. So let's see what this version comes out of. First off, hold on. Who's Chrome on the road? Yep, you are the next Van Vliet.
I'd be lucky enough.
When I was wanting to become a wrestler, I remember being at the gym, and it wasn't some dickhead or anything, but some guy just talking to me, an older guy. And he's like, so you want to be a wrestler? Huh? I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh yeah, well, we'll be your dream match. I was like, I want to wrestle Kurt Angle for a world title. And he went, okay, whatever. And like, well, motherfucker, I did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Angle was a hero in many senses before he even wrestled, because I'm a big American motherfucker. So him winning the Olympic gold medal, to what he did in wrestling, to everything he went through. I mean, to come full circle and to be able to have an opportunity to not only work with him, but compete with him on a very high stage for a very prestigious prize and fucking win. Like, dude, it was, in one essence, it was that, but in the other essence, it was kind of like all the shit and trauma and stuff I went through in life to even get there. Not as easy, not as Derek, but Michael, to get to that moment and then to deliver within it, and winning the title. Cool. Moment afterwards, I have my family there. Great. But to go to the back and be endorsed by your hero, like, nobody can ever say anything about me ever about wrestling, especially because if one of the greatest of all time says you're pretty good, I'm like, oh, fucking, that's all I need, motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
So like whatever shit you get on the internet or part of the deal, and it's fine, but
yeah,
like, you can't take that away from me, and I trust his opinion. I don't trust yours. So,
yeah.
But culmination, life experience. If you read the book I write, and if it never gets out, I talk about these moments of like self-actualization, and you can never have perfection in anything you do, but you can have perfect moments. And that was a perfect moment for me.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I mean, that's like pinnacle stuff, right? That's bucket list stuff, if you want to use like the terminology of that, but, Again, your run in Impact was amazing. Working with Bobby Lashley, Samoa Joe. I mean, it was a who's who of people. Eventually, your time ends there. You have the 2 world titles, and what was that other title they called? I didn't remember what it was called.
Yeah, well, funny. I was just going over it the other day because somebody else didn't know. We had the what was it?
Was it not
Matt
the
Hardy
interview?
came in, and then we had a three-way dance with Drew McIntyre, Galloway, myself, and Matt Hardy, and Jeff Hardy is the special guest referee, where he gave me a twist of fate, take me out of the match, and Matt was able to pin Drew and become the world champion. And in the storyline sense, I pitched such a fit, and I embarked my legal team about the travesty and the injustice of it, where they stripped Matt Hardy of the title, and we had the convoluted World Title Series tournament.
Yes, I remember that. Yep.
And that was between TV deals, and nobody knew what was going on. So we filmed. How can we film 12 weeks of television in 4 days with no direction on where we're going to go, where we're going to be? And so we do the tournament that became a Final Four on our first show back on the new network, where I wrestled Bobby Lashley in the first round. He beats the shit out of me, but I win, And I think Matt wrestled Eric Young, and then I met Matt Hardy in the finals, where I became a 2-time champion. But because of how we filmed television, the very next day we had the TLC match, myself and Matt, for the World Heavyweight Championship, where he beat me. Because of the double turn, I would say is probably, Impact didn't have as much steam back then, but
I actually do remember that double turn.
I think that was like the second or third best double turn in wrestling.
Yeah, it was actually really cool. And what was that other title they had though? It was like not the global or the internet championship or something? There was another title you held there. Yeah.
Who cares?
It was like anyway.
You're a 4-time 24/7 champion. I'm like, don't fucking talk to me. I don't give a shit. I think it was the Grand Championship.
Yes, it was the Grand Championship. But yeah, so you eventually go back to WWE. You worked during what I would consider I think NXT is pretty cool now with what they do, but that opening and that era where you guys were in at the black and gold era was something special, and obviously you made your debut there. You were part of the first North American Championship match. A lot of really cool things. What was that experience like in NXT and on the main roster there?
Oh, NXT was great. The main roster sucked balls. Man.
Yeah.
It's probably not really much of a secret, but NXT was a lot of fun. One thing when I'm trying to converse maybe to my current boss, understand that when you're dealing with a lot of these wrestlers, you're dealing with wrestlers on one level. But when you got a Trevor Murdoch or a Aaron Stevens or a myself, we were special operators in the suck, if you know what I mean. We're fucking Navy SEALs compared to regular enlisted people, because of all these things we had to go through, these different systems, means, wares, politics, travel schedule, injuries, all that shit. We're different. And I'm bringing that up for no reason other than I like saying it because it sounds cool as hell. But, coming back to the WWE, doing the NXT, you have the ladder match. Again, I think it was a 5-star match. I don't care. I didn't give a shit to me. So I had a tweet today, which I don't check it often, but it was inaugural North American title match. And this guy's raking it with 10 out of 10 scale and all these different things. He's 9.83. I'm like, what the fuck could I have done for a 9.84? What?
Exactly. What gauge is that?
If there was one more chop, would that have got us to a 9.84? So that shit doesn't matter to me. But what matters is you go out there with colleagues, some friends, but people you entrust your livelihood to and your life with, and you create these moments together, and you break your fucking bodies. And then when it's all said and done and you go to the back and you got 2 of your other childhood heroes giving you a standing ovation, like Shawn and Triple H, dude, you can't. nothing you can take from me at that point where it's like, okay, that'll do, you know? And then obviously the fan engagement and enjoyment of it and the reactions and people talking about it in hindsight is totally cool too. So like I look at the positives of those things. But yeah, NXT was cool. And I think what really helped with NXT is I was one of those guys coming from a different place where I didn't have to be there all the time, but I moved my ass to Orlando because I wanted to be the best I could. And it wasn't necessarily shown in what I did, but like being around Terry Taylor and Sean to an extent, Scotty Too Hottie, and a Norman again, and just observing and learning and listening to all the different things they say to different people, from high level pros to like green as shit rookies, like carried over to where I have this expansive knowledge now, where again, I'm a special operator because look who I've learned from compared to who majority of these others have. So if I say something, it's probably going to be fucking right.
Absolutely. We got a couple of minutes left, so I want to be mindful of your time here. I do want to talk about NWA just quickly. And really, I just want to get your thoughts on, obviously there's a resurgence with NWA. You mentioned, you have your own portion of NWA that you're running right now. And then obviously Billy Corgan is the figurehead of everything. And the love that he has for the business, a guy who's a friggin' rock star, like an actual worldwide rock star.
Yes, a real rock star.
Like his love for the business and what he brings to it. But also, again, I had the privilege of doing the Q&A before you guys did the Crockett Cup, and to hear him talk about just the traditions and what he grew up on. How is that to work, obviously, with Billy, work in the NWA, and also now be a part of that lineage of you held the NWA world title for over a year before you lost it at NWA 76 to Tom Latimer.
Yeah, stop coming to shows in Philly. You're bad luck.
I know, seriously.
Not like there's a lot of good and there's a lot to unravel there. But first off, having a boss and a leader who's passionate about what they're doing is imperative, necessary. Thanks for that.
Dude loved your, and he's not wrong, by the way. They were great.
You know what? Real fast aside, they filmed those in my freaking apartment in downtown Orlando, and I'm like, I remember back in the day when these guys got these like vignettes where there's like crews and shit, and it's just me and Jeremy Borash and a camera, and like it still turned out cool, except Vince had no idea what was going on. But anyways, so like you need that passion and that leadership, and the thing about like I don't know shit about music, but I know what I like, and I know when it's great, and I know what I love, and I know what I'm like, whatever. So, but I have no idea how to make it sometimes. Whereas, same thing with wrestling, the passion, the love for it, like how do we get there? And I think big picture, a lot of great ideas, intricacies, I think we could improve upon. And like the things I'm talking about with these little things and these niches where I don't know if it gets observed as much, but then maybe it's just my preference and not of everybody else's.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is really great to see that the NWA is having this resurgence and that you're seeing a lot of the, like, I just love the tradition, like even the look of it, right? Like it just feels like you watch NWA Power, it just has that classic traditional look. And when you can get the grandeur from WWE or AEW or get that kind of a elevated independent style from an AEW rather, but NWA just, there really is a tradition about it that just seems, it's so cool to see.
I'm super big advocate of playing to your strengths too. So if you build yourself on an old school and a tradition, like you don't have to put that, because if you're a small operation against giants, you got to play Moneyball, right? So like creating an aesthetic and a feel that is unique to itself based on what your brand is far more important than adding bells and whistles that aren't as good as the bells and whistles of the $1 billion company. You know what I mean? So I think Yeah, that was the idea with CYN. We had no budget. We had no backing. It was me, and like paying off the gate and slight investments. But like, okay, we're not going to ever be them. I mean, maybe if the angel investor comes in, but even then, I'd be like, what is our aesthetic? Well, we're gritty, we're dirty, we're underground. We're like if Fight Club was wrestling, right? So replicate that. Don't try to church it up and add a bunch of fucking bells and whistles that not only don't add to the product, but because they're not as good as the other products, they take away from the product. Build to your strengths. And I think NWA does that, and we can do that even more. Like, I love a dark look shot differently compared to if you're flipping through the channels and you see similar, the highest end version of it, something completely different, but the same thing. You're like, well, what's this? It's like liking indie music or grunge or independent film or like a TV show nobody knows about until everyone starts talking about it. Then it blows up and then you hate it because it's sold out, right?
Yeah.
Play to those strengths. And I think we do that well.
Absolutely. Last little thing here for EC3. What's next? What you said you want to write a book?
Well, I am actually.
Well, yeah, I should say you would say you are in the process of.
Yeah.
Velasco, you better be checking this out, by the way.
I don't know what to do with it, but I was writing one chapter last month that kept growing, that it became so big. I think I already wrote the second book.
Wow.
So I got like two unfinished. Like, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? But it's autobiographical, like where I'll tell stories and make a lot of comparisons. But it's really like if a Robert Greene type was like a jacked up ADHD, insane pro wrestler giving life advice. So, but it seems every piece I send off to people, it seems pretty well read. And I did this rant the other day on airline travel, which people were blowing me up over. And I'm like, wow, you're a good writer. I'm like, well, read my fucking book, I guess. Yeah. So maybe I could speak to people, especially like guys like us and a younger generation of like people, men, mostly that are kind of like need motivation and are lost, but they don't want like stupid self-help nonsense or dribble or like inauthentic influencers, screaming fucking falsities at them. They're like, you can have this Ferrari if you just buy my fucking program. Like, no, you can't. Shut up. But if you find out who you are through these kind of like different little processes, then maybe you can at least just be fucking happy with who you are. And it started as a wrestling thing where I wrote 10 tenets of wrestling and I was giving to wrestlers every now and then. I'm like, this is actually a book. So I started building on it, and now it's a completely different thing. So it was for wrestlers, but now it uses wrestling to explain shit to everybody.
I love it. We got to keep an eye out for that. Again, brother, I appreciate you taking the time today, man. We had a great time having a conversation with you, and to obviously everybody out there who chimed in as well. And stay tuned because we have a couple more guests coming up. The Blue Meanie next week and Santino Morello the following week.
Oh, Santino. Send him
yeah.
My best. And Blue. Send my best. And welcome back to the scene, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Hit me up on the gram or something. Keep in touch, and next time we're in the same town, we'll hook up.
I would love that. I appreciate that. And same to you, brother. Listen, great health. I'll be keeping an eye out for your book. I'll shoot you. Yeah, I'll get you on Instagram. And thank you again for taking the time. Good luck with everything you're doing. Good luck with NWA.
Thank you, brother. And then I will also, I don't know when you're going to air this, but
it's live. We're live right now.
Live, pal. Fucking great. Book. I was comparing the Bill O'Reilly meltdown to something. You got to speak your authentic voice. Fuck it. We'll do it live. NWA Exodus, my promotion up in Cleveland. If you're in the Cleveland area, come check us out this Friday. But I'm also streaming it live on the NWA's YouTube. So Exodus Pro. The boys are back in town. What a cool name. Will be taking place. And what I want this place to be is that black and gold NXT you were talking about for the NWA. And I think it definitely can be because my talent kicks ass and they're dedicated and they work hard and they get it, unlike a lot of other places. So check them out and support them. In the process, you're supporting me, whether you want to or not, but more so support them because they're good. They're good people.
100%. And I know I'll be checking it out. You guys go on there, check out NWA's YouTube, check it out. Give EC3 a follow. Follow all of his projects. And one more little shout out here to Specialized Physical Therapy for making all this possible for us today to have this conversation.
Up a thoracic pillow. I'm going to check them out.
Hey, right there, Specialized Physical
Therapy.
Hey, listen, next time you're in Philly, I'm telling you, Dr. Paul, he's the best. Nope, there's no appointment necessary either.
Now we're talking. Dr. Paul, you'll be hearing from me soon.
Love it. But for myself, for EC3, for everybody here at A2D Radio, it's a pleasure to be back with you guys. I look forward to being back weekly with more great interviews. And some shows we're just going to have fun. Maybe it won't be an interview. Maybe we'll talk about the greatest of this or just some nonsensical bullshit as well. But we're going to have a great time. So for myself, for EC3, for A2D Radio, NWA, and everybody else, get out there. If you love somebody, make sure they know it. And take it easy.